Hello everyone, and welcome to my first live stream today on Periscope called Old Knowledge for New Worlds. For a New World, this is Krista, and I apologize for the broadcasting today. Some technical difficulties, but I guess that's that's the norm for me anyway when I'm figuring these things out. So really happy to be here. So glad that you guys are watching. And this stream every week is going to be answering your questions, okay? Questions about crystals, questions about spirituality and how to live a spiritual life and lead a spiritual life. And for those of you who know me, and then also for those of you who don't, I speak from my experience. I've certainly had, oh look, hearts, neat. I've certainly, learned a lot from the School of Hard Knocks, as well as various teachers' books and other things along the way. But my big thing about spirituality, crystals, energy healing, and various other practices is that they're meant to help us. They're meant to help us expand as human beings. They're meant to help enrich our experience and improve our experience. I am a great believer that one of our main purposes, and perhaps the only true purpose, right, in what they call this great experiment, is for us to be returning to source. And by source, I do mean God, the universe, light, great spirit, goddess, whichever term you feel most comfortable with. To me, it's all ultimately the same thing, but it's about coming back to that. And in order for us to start coming back to that, we need to come back to ourselves first. And we need to be able to take care of ourselves and take care of the world around us and live in a way that is harmonious and highest for ourselves and highest for us all. So that's, the grand scheme, right? The big picture. But then there's also things like rent, ingrown toenails, crappy, painful relationships. What am I doing with my life? Bad hair days, and so on, and it's a real world, and it's a real life that we're living. So for me, it's about bridging old knowledge that's been around for a long time that a lot of us have forgotten. Some of us are remembering, some of it's been preserved for us to find again, and bridging the gap between that knowledge, between our spirituality and our daily lives, so that we can start to live as healthier, empowered people. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. I feel, again, really happy to be here. Technology is so neat. And I'm just going to launch in the questions now. And sorry, we're in the middle of a heat wave where I am right now. I'm dying. I'm melting. But yeah, I'm going to launch right into the questions. And I want to let you all know that this stream, each week, it's always going to be short. It's not going to be super long. I know some of you are taking coffee breaks from work. I know that some of you in some parts of the world, you're just about to go to bed. Others are just about to, or have just woken up in the morning. So I'm going to keep this short and sweet and to the point. If you have questions that you want to submit for me to answer on this feed, you can go to the link, all right, that's in my profile here, and submit your questions there. I do keep details confidential. I think right now on my website it does say that just your name is mentioned, your first name, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to launch right into the questions and give you real talk, give you real answers, so that you can integrate crystal healing into your lives more, spiritual practice and spiritual wisdom into your lives more, to help your lives, because that's the whole point, right? That's why we're here. Well, that's why I'm here. Anyway, so the first question, this came from a woman who has my book. Thank you for buying my book. I'm glad that you love it. But she got my book and she's been looking through the different combinations on abundance, prosperity, etc. She does sales, person-to-person sales for a living. And her question was, could she take crystals, suggested crystals from different combinations and pair them together to make a specific combination for her? Yes! Absolutely yes. And it makes me really happy to hear that, because I believe I say this in my book, and I say this ad nauseum. There are as many ways to work with crystals as there are people working with them. What I put out there in the work that I do is one way. It's what came through to me. But crystals are they're an intimate healing experience. It's so important to trust your intuition when you're working with them, because that's how they speak to you. But absolutely form different combinations. This is in no way, a Bible or a gospel. Again, as I said, these are just combinations and crystals that have worked time and time again, okay, through my practice. And so that's what I share. But by all means, yes, you can take, a crystal that's for self-worth from one thing, and a crystal that's from abundance for, another thing, and a crystal for ambition, and a crystal for energy, and pair it together to make your own personalized combination. And I think that's fantastic. So yes, absolutely, you can do that. You can pull and from different combinations and make your own. I think that's wonderful. So that was the first question. The next question, I got an email from a lady who had noticed that, and they're not always all going to be about my book, they just are today, but a woman had noticed that I don't mention turquoise in my book, and she had said, well, turquoise is used in crystal therapy, is it not? The answer is yes, absolutely. I think there's only actually 95 crystals that I mention in my book, and again, I do explain it's because they're readily accessible, they're not too expensive, and I've used them time and time again, and I can stand by the results that I've received from them. But there are, gosh, I don't even know, quite a few thousand, right? Crystals and minerals in the world. So it's really up to what you feel. Yes, very good point. I'll touch on that in 30 seconds, in fact. It's really up to you in terms of what you feel drawn to, but great point. Thank you for that comment. Part of the reason I also don't include turquoise in my book is because it's hard to find bona fide, good quality turquoise on the market that's reasonably priced. There's a lot of what's referred to as synthetic or synthesized turquoise on the market, which is where they've literally taken turquoise shavings, right, and dust and stuff like that, and they've recomposed it with plastic, right, and resin or glue in order to form turquoise. And then there is also a lot of, as was just pointed out, howlite, okay, dyed blue howlite, which people will sell as turquoise a lot, and then just out and out fake turquoise. So that's also part of the reason why I don't include it. I have some beautiful pieces of turquoise in my collection, and it's a magnificent stone to work with, especially when it comes to connecting with spirit. But that's why it isn't mentioned in my book, and that's not true of all crystals and why they're not mentioned, but that in particular is why turquoise isn't mentioned in my book. Moving on, just to touch on abundance, because I do get questions about crystals for abundance, crystals for prosperity a lot. Pay attention to underlying causes, all right? Underlying causes when it comes to prosperity. For instance, if you find that you're struggling a lot with abundance and prosperity in your life, general abundance and prosperity crystals may not work for you if what you've really got are self-worth issues. or if you've got negative limiting beliefs in terms of what you can achieve in life, negative limiting beliefs around money that, let's say, you've learned from your family, and also if you are really kind of fighting against the tide in terms of what your soul wants you to do. And sometimes it could also be that you're in a stage where that's not quite what you're ready to work on yet, because you're still in the idea and the creative phase. For instance, I did a consultation recently for a woman who, you know, wanted to learn about crystals for abundance and prosperity. But as I was talking to her, I was like, but it sounds to me like, you know, you're in a job where you're not earning much money, you're wanting to create your own business, right? And start building this business, and et cetera, et cetera. Rather than working with abundance crystals right now, shouldn't you be working with crystals for creativity, crystals for business ideas, crystals to keep your mind really laser focused on what you're seeking to create? And then once you've begun to build the idea or the pitch or the business plan or whatever it is, you know, and you get it out there, then you can start working with abundance and prosperity crystals. And she was like, wow, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense why this hasn't been working for me. So be aware of the underlying cause. You know, it could be that you've done the work, you feel deserving, and there are actually abundance crystals for that, right? Green aventurine is great. Green aventurine, sorry, I speak very quickly, is great if you feel like you've got self-worth or deserving issues, you know, in terms of abundance and prosperity. When you're ready for that money to flow in, that's the really perfect time to work on that. Or if you're working on prosperity consciousness and you're doing some other work and working them in as well. So always be aware of the underlying causes, because a big thing for me is that crystals should never be a band-aid. They should never be a band-aid solution. They can't do it all for us, but what they can be is they can be allies, and they can give us, they can give us the energy that we need, to create what it is we're seeking to create for ourselves. And yes, absolutely, green aventurine is very easy to come by, and it's very inexpensive, which is a wonderful thing, right? Because when we're looking for money to flow in, we don't want to necessarily be spending a whole lot of money for that to happen. And just two final things, and then I'll be wrapping up today unless anyone else has any questions. The first thing is, please wear your crystals on you. Please don't keep them in your purse. Please don't keep them in your locker. Please don't keep them on your bedroom dresser, okay, while you're at work. You know, if it's not practical for you to wear them on you, which, I mean, you know, honestly, I have a lot of clients who are in the fashion industry. I have a lot of clients who are, you know, actors and other things. They can't necessarily wear them. You can work with crystal, you know, elixirs. You can sleep with them. Okay, there's a bunch of different things that you can do. But if you're just kind of carrying around with them and not actually carrying them around and not actually engaging with their energy, or not engaging with their energy on a regular basis, or if they're too small to emanate sufficient energy to reach you from wherever they are, they're not going to work for you. You know, they're not going to work for you. They're not going to be able to help you because you're just not engaging with the energy. It's kind of like, you know, if you are a plant and you're not in the sunlight, like, how are you going to grow? You're not getting the energy that you need to grow. And so it's the same thing with crystals. You need to be in contact with them. So holding on to them periodically just for a few short minutes, it might help you, it might not, right? But having them on you consistently definitely will. And the final thing, this is to just touch on crystal tonics, okay, and gem elixirs. I'm on Pinterest. I love Pinterest. You know, I'm scooting around on Pinterest all the time. But occasionally I see posts or I see photos on Instagram that really concern me, where I'm seeing people putting crystals directly in their water and drinking that water. And, you know, the thing is, that particular person who's doing that may very well know exactly what they're doing, right? They might have very well have cleared that crystal's energy. They might very well have physically cleaned, okay, the crystal, so that there's no bacterial growth on it, and so on. And they may have, you know, triple checked that it's a crystal that doesn't have toxic minerals in it. But the average person looking at that may not know that. That information may not have been explained. And so then they go home and they take some of their crystals and they put it in their water and they just start drinking it. All right. And the thing is, there are a lot of crystals that have toxic, yeah, definitely, you know, selenite. Well, you don't want to do that with selenite because the selenite is going to dissolve, right? First of all, you're going to be damaging your selenite, but you definitely don't want to be doing that with selenite. Another one is malachite. Definitely don't do it with malachite, okay? It's toxic if ingested. There are a lot of crystals that have asbestos in them. There are a lot of crystals that have, you know, high amounts of aluminum, okay, and other things. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're toxic to the touch, right? But you definitely don't want to be dissolving those minerals in your water and drinking your water. So please, please, please make sure that you go on Google, check out to see if a crystal's toxic first, okay? Make sure you clear its energy, make sure you scrub it down with some soap and water or rub it down with some rubbing alcohol. If you want safe alternatives to making crystals, I have a post about this on my blog, okay, on my website, krista-mitchell.com. And I also have information about this in my book, but it's not a shameless plug. It really concerns me. I don't want people out there making themselves sick because they don't have access to this information. So just as a final wrap up, crystals can really help you, right? They can be healing, they can be great for you, but you, like anything else, you have to use them wisely, all right? There are plants out in nature that we can eat them and they're healing for us. There are plants out in nature that are poisonous and can make us sick or even kill us. So just because something's natural does not automatically mean that it's healthy. So that's my stream. Yay. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. This will remain available on Periscope for 24 hours, and then a link. This has been recorded. Oh, I'll answer that in 1 second. What do you want me to tell you about labradorite? Because one thing I definitely want to say is I can't go through a ton of, you know, metaphysical properties for crystals every week. But, you know, really quickly, labradorite is great for alchemy. It's great for transformation. It's great for seeing the inner self. It's great for communication with the soul. It's great for psychic protection. And it's also great for magical and manifestation workings. So that's labradorite, but hopefully I answer that question. If you have anything specific you want to ask about labradorite, okay, you're welcome. Absolutely, I'm happy to ask that, but as I said, you can also, for next week's stream, you can submit questions at my website through the link, and also this recording will be available again on my site for a week until next week's recording. A link will be available for it on my site, again at the link that's in my bio. So thank you so much everyone for joining me today. Thank you for the hearts, that's very nice. I do hope that this has been helpful for you, and I'm looking forward to next week's stream. Take care, guys. Bye. Namaste. Thank you.